Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Concealed Carry Training with Max Michel, presented by Galco. Now in previous episodes, we talked quite a bit in great detail drawing from the holster from concealment. Now we wanted to be fast, we wanted to be smooth, we wanted to be efficient, but we needed to be consistent. And that's what we really focused on in those first few episodes. In fact, a couple of episodes ago, we worked on how do we be fast, smooth, and efficient and remain consistent, and we did it at the range while we put it to the test with a 3-second par time, drawn from the holster, firing 3 rounds on target at 3 yards in distance, but we had to do it 3 times in a row to be successful. And some of us made it and maybe some of us didn't make it. So in the last episode, we really focused on establishing a clean draw stroke out of concealment and making sure we had a good grip on the pistol at the same time. Right? We talked about a 3-step process if you remember. Step 1 was getting to the gun, step 2 is where the hands would meet, and step 3 was acquiring our sights on target. But we also needed to make sure that we could clear a path towards the holster or clear a path to the pistol for our hand to get to establish 2 points of contact on that pistol. So the 3-step process was, again, we wanted to bring our non-dominant hand as close to that pistol grip or the back of the pistol grip as possible and take our fingers and position them down so we can grab the garment and pull up and away to clear that path. And once we cleared that path, we were looking for 2 points of contact. The web of my firing hand as high as possible in the back strap of that pistol. And the second point of contact was that middle knuckle underneath the trigger guard. Once we feel that second point of contact, then we know we have a good grip on the pistol and we can then take it out of the holster with our finger outside of the trigger guard. And this is where our hands would meet at position 2. And again, acquire our sights on target and fire rounds on target at a high rate of speed because we've established that good grip in the holster. Now, that 3-step process works great when it doesn't, right? And that's what today's episode is all about. How do we clear some sort of a snag, pull, or obstruction, depending on if it's below the slide or above the slide, and that's what we're going to be getting into. So we're going to break this down into 2 separate categories. Some sort of an obstruction below the slide or above the slide. Let's talk about below the slide first. Now I've just cleared my holster and I'm trying to work my way out toward the target, but I feel some sort of a pull or snag on the pistol, right? So I quickly look down and I try to identify that and how can I combat that. But first let's talk about what may have caused this. What's probably caused it is I've released my garment a little early trying to get my support hand onto the gun, right? So I had great intentions on getting that grip, but by releasing that garment early, what's happened is it's allowed that clothing to fall onto the top of the pistol. So as my strong hand is trying to grip the grip module, on the way out, I have a whole grip full of shirt as well. So in this situation, I can look down and realize I have a blockage, I have some sort of a stoppage or obstruction. It's below the slide, so friction is my friend. So I want to push as hard as I can out toward that target, and it will eventually release that clothing. So anything below the slide, friction is our friend. However, anything above the slide, we don't want to have that friction. So let's say I'm drawing the pistol out of the holster, and this time my clothing kind of wraps or falls onto the top of the actual optic or the rear sight, whatever it might be. Something on top of the slide, but not quite the muzzle yet. Just something on top of the slide here. And on the way out, I have all that friction, and it's not allowing the pistol to release. So if I'm looking down and I see this friction, it's obviously above the slide. I can't see my optic, I can't see my rear sight, and friction's not happening. What I want to do is I want to pull back down to release that tension, sweep away from the clothing, get that support hand grip, and drive out toward the target. But now let's say we have the ultimate blockage or the ultimate stoppage, right? So now our clothing or our garment is all the way over the top of the pistol and I'm trying to push out and my muzzle is actually buried into my clothing. In this situation, what we're going to want to do is we want to make sure that we have our trigger finger off the gun, our trigger finger outside of the trigger guard and off the trigger, and we want to bring that pistol back toward the grip to release some of that tension, and we want to sweep in a J formation away from our body and away from the clothing. So we're going to go away from our body, away from the clothing, then establish that support hand grip and drive out downrange. So there's 3 things that we're looking at here, but really 2 categories, right? Below the slide and above the slide. So anything below the slide, friction is our friend. Anything above our slide, friction is not our friend. We want to bring the pistol grip back toward the holster itself to release that tension. If it's not being blocked by the muzzle, we can just sweep away from our body and drive out. However, if our muzzle is completely blocked, we want to bring it back toward that pistol grip, use that J formation to sweep away, get away from that clothing, then establish that 2-handed grip and drive out toward the target. Lastly, be sure to dry fire these techniques. Now that might sound silly, right? Dry firing bad techniques, but that's not what we're doing here. I still want you guys focused on being fast, clean, efficient, and consistent on the draw stroke, but also work on these techniques if you were to have a problem. We all hope to have that fast first shot when we need it most, but what if we don't? What if we don't get a good clean draw stroke? How do we fix that? How do we combat that? We now know if it's below the slide, friction is our friend, and if it's above the slide, we have to release that friction before we can get back out to the target. So be sure to work on these techniques in dry fire in front of a mirror so you can get the feedback that you're looking for. I truly hope this video helped you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to find out more information about our holsters, belts, and all of our gear, be sure to visit galcoholsters.com and use code MAX15 for 15% off. Until next time, stay safe.